Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, no, it's fine. Okay, so today we are going to be discussing my favorites. I would call them the perfumes that I picked up in 2023 that are at the top of my list in regards to what I like to wear. I can't really say that they're favorites because my desired, like what I want to smell like, changes fairly regularly. So everything's a favorite in that particular sense. But these are ones that I picked up in 2023 that either A, I would purchase a full bottle in the future, or B, I've been wearing enough that there's a considerable dent in them. So surprisingly, well, I have two decants, but one's a 30 ml decant, so I don't think it counts. Surprisingly, only one is actually a decant. The rest are partial bottles or full bottles that I purchased. Only a few full bottles that I purchased, mostly partial bottles. So let's get started. I'm not going to go in any particular order. You've seen all of these in videos before, but I'll try to talk a little bit more about why I like them. And then of course the notes will be down below. So just going to start off with Bitter Peach from Tom Ford. I picked this one up at the cosmetic company outlet. It was in the set with the travel spray. I did sell the travel spray, and I'm glad that I did, because I found out recently on one of the fragrance Facebook groups that I'm in, is that it's really hard to get the Tom Ford refills without also buying the bottle for it, like the compact. So that would be such a pain in the ass to try to like buy a new bottle to put in the existing compact. Anyway, glad I'm not dealing with that. But Bitter Peach, first of all, Bitter Peach is probably the first like peach fragrance that I ever put my nose on and then was like, yeah, that's a good one. Like, I want to smell like that. To me, peach was always too, too juicy sounds stupid, because how could anything be too juicy? But too fruity, like too overindulgent in fruits. And I get that way with a lot of the stone fruit fragrances, cherry, plum, they all tend to be a little too much, just for my preference. Sorry about my shirt, there's a hole in it. But Bitter Peach has quite a synthetic peachy opening, in my opinion, and I really like that because it doesn't feel like too fruity. It feels sweet, it feels peachy, it feels like gummy candy and sugary sweet. Then with the dry down, it becomes more woody, more smoky, a little bit more robust. It starts smelling like more of a peach type of dessert than a candy peach. And the dry down is probably my favorite part of this fragrance. So just like holding it up to the ring light, yeah, I've put a dent in it to about here. So I've used more of this fragrance in the time that I've had it than I've used probably of any other fragrance. So for me, that's a big deal. I can't say that I would repurchase this if I used it up, because there's not that many fragrances I love that much. But for me, Tom Ford's Bitter Peach was definitely one of the winners that went into my fragrance collection this year. Speaking of peach, we have the decant Peche Cardinal from MDCI. This is a totally different scent than Bitter Peach. It's definitely peach. Like, you get peach right away from the opening, but this is like gooey, glazed, dessert, delicious. I said before, like peach with yogurt and honey. Something, it's fresher than bitter peach, but it's still sweet. It doesn't have a lactonic note, or it doesn't feel lactonic at all. So even though I say there's a yogurt vibe, I mean more like the tartness of like a Greek yogurt than lactonic sort of vibe. This one to me is much more elevated. This would be like a black tie peach, whereas bitter peach would be like a sensual night peach. I hope that makes sense. But I'm super hesitant to use my decant of Peche Cardinal because it's so pretty and I don't want to waste it. Like, I really want to use it just in special occasions. And for me, like, a special occasion fragrance is not really something that I adhere to. I don't like the thought of my fragrances going unworn. I've done that in the past and it never got me anywhere good. So I like to wear the perfume because if you don't use it, you lose it to time, evaporation, whatever. But this Peche Cardinal is definitely something I could see being a special occasion type of fragrance. So good, so good. Next, I'm just picking the ones up that are closest to me. So next I have Gris Charnel from BDK. This I purchased in a partial bottle, but there is still a good amount left. And I've used this quite a few times. I'm gonna spritz it on like just some tissue. It's really sexy. It does have a sweetness, but there's a musky sensuality that feels decadent. That's really probably the best word, that Gris Charnel is just super decadent. I am curious about the extrait. When I bought this bottle, I purposely looked for the eau de parfum because I had read online that the eau de parfum was more feminine leaning and the extrait was more masculine leaning. But now, having smelled the eau de parfum, I'm really interested to see like what additional qualities makes the extrait different. This lasts really well, especially on clothes. Most things last well on clothes, but it'll linger for forever on your clothes. I've had times where I've sprayed this on like my sweatshirt and then I take it off and don't put it on again for a couple days, and then I'll put it on again and I'll be like, what am I smelling? What is this? It smells so good. And it takes me a minute to be like, okay, I remember I sprayed Gris Charnel last time. I bought this totally blind after seeing an advert that was for this fragrance, and I was attracted by the advertisement, and I was influenced, and instead of buying the full bottle, I bought the partial bottle. But this is one, absolutely, if I go through this, where's the lid? I don't know what happened to the cap. Oh, there it is. If I go through this bottle, the whole bottle feels luxurious. If I go through this partial bottle, I would absolutely repurchase a full size. Whether I'd get the eau de parfum or whether I'd splurge on the extrait, I can't say for sure. But I think that if you've been hesitating on trying Gris Charnel or BDK parfums in general, I said this when I first bought this, but I waited on this a long time. I hadn't tried any of the BDK scents. I didn't want to buy into the hype. For me, at least, with Gris Charnel, this stupid hype is real, okay? Like, just go try it. Just, it's worth it. So the other decant that I have is from Akro, and it's Akro Bake. So I purchased a 30 ml decant after I tried to get a partial bottle, and the person who was selling the partial bottles said, you know, I've sold these out, but I can do 30 ml for whatever the price was, and it was a good price considering the cost of the bottle. And so I was like, yeah, do it. Like, I really want that. This is straight lemon meringue, like lemon meringue pie. It's a little bit tart. Like, the lemon definitely gives it a little bit of a tartness, but there's like a sweet chiffony kind of like fluffy sweetness. It's not dense like a heavy vanilla, but it's also not like a gooey, like marshmallowy sweetness. This makes me think of some like summer sunshine and early mornings, like almost like a puff pastry kind of vibe. But it's so pretty. I actually have not tried any other Akro fragrances. For one reason or another, whenever I thought about picking one up, I just didn't. Something happened and I didn't. But I know they have quite a few in their range now, and I would really be interested in trying more. There's some debate in the fragrance communities that I'm in whether Bake or Xerjoff's Lyra is a better fragrance in this kind of lemon custard, lemon pie scent family. For me, Bake is by far better than Lyra. I had a full bottle of Lyra that I actually sold. I still have a decant. I tested it on my hand side by side, and Lyra had just a really weird kind of like heavy dry down that like it morphed from being light and fresh and lemony sweet to this kind of weird musky skin dry down, and Bake doesn't do that on me. So between the two, I prefer Akro's Bake. I haven't really been showing it close, but I prefer Bake. I would buy a full bottle of this over a full bottle of Lyra. That being said, I don't expect to buy a full bottle of it if I run out of the decant, because this is 30 ml. I've put a fairly good dent in it, but I've had this now for almost 6 months. So I don't really expect to use this up anytime soon. It's just one of those fragrances that I really only reach for when I want to smell like food. And that happens sometimes. There's definitely times where I'm like, I want to smell like food. And this is the perfect scent for that. So Akro Bake, definitely one of my favorite additions to my collection in 2023. Another, well, it's not really food, but this does have a time and place addition. So probably the most recent edition of what I'm showing you, I think maybe I got this and the MDCI at the same time, but this is Mancera's Tonka Cola. This one actually has not been used yet because I am still working through the last of the decant. I lost it and then I found it again. I can't really describe this to you. If a lot of people online say it smells like root beer, like I've seen that in Fragrantica reviews, I've seen it on online reviews, say that it has a root beer vibe, but it's not root beer. It is definitely, to me, a cola. I think the Tonka Bean does make it feel like it's a root beer scent, because root beer is made out of herbal. Root beer started out as an herbal beverage. And so I think the kind of slightly herbal sweetness of Tonka beans gives that vibe. But when I spray this on, that initial blast, it is all cola. It is straight up like I don't want to say any brand names, so, but it is cola. And then it dries down into a really warm sweetness. There's that tonka that comes through. Like I said, that's a very herbal sweetness. The scent of tonka beans is often compared to vanilla, but to me, it's a little bit more on like the anisey side. So it's like it's like if you get, to me, it's like if you buy handmade or homemade licorice, or like organic made licorice, that it's not like the same taste as like a manufactured black licorice. There's something richer and denser and sweeter about it. And that's not heavy. I'm not saying it smells like licorice, please don't get me wrong, but the scent of the dry down is this like warm, kind of dense sweetness that's not quite vanilla, a little bit more herbal than that, but at the same time pairs very well with that kind of refreshing sweetness of the cola part. I've seen people say that it's similar to other fragrances, or I've seen that there's comparisons to other fragrances. Off the top of my head, I don't know what, but I think there's comparisons to even other Mancera fragrances. But for me, I think that Tonka Cola is a pretty unique scent, and I really like it for winter, and I really like it for nighttime. I mentioned before that when I run out of my Angel Share dupe, which is Angelic Elixir from Dua, I'm gonna be using this in place of that, and that plan is still in place. I just haven't run out of Angelic Elixir yet. So the last three are totally different than the three that I've shown you, and they're all different from each other too. So I would say that the first three all have a similar vibe, which is they have a sweetness, like they have an element of sweetness to them, whether it's quite a bit or whether it's just a light sweetness. The next three do not have any type of like sugary sweetness at all. And that's great, because I do not want to smell like a sugary cookie all the time. I'm not even a heavy gourmand lover. Like, of course, Mugler's Angel is my favorite fragrance, but outside of that, I wasn't even into gourmand fragrances probably up until very recently, maybe like the last few years. I preferred like resins and woody scents, and that's still my main demographic when it comes to fragrances. So the first one I have is this partial bottle of Ormonde Jane's Amber Royal. So amber fragrances were always one of my fortes, something that I really loved, and this one is stunning. I have talked about Amber Royal, I think, in 2 different videos, but the one thing that I can say about this, and I know that there's an extrait version as well, because the person who sold me this partial sold it because they got the extrait and didn't need both. But the one thing that I can say about this Amber Royal is I feel like anywhere that you go, you could wear this. I feel like this is an incredibly versatile fragrance. Like, this would be totally okay at, you know, a walk in the park, lunch, brunch, a fancy dinner, a business meeting, even like a black tie event. I feel like that even lightly you could wear it to the gym or someplace like that. I mean, I don't really recommend wearing fragrances to the gym unless it's a body spray, but I don't think this would be offensive. Yeah, I think that you could wear this even to like work, if you worked in an office or an enclosed space. Just going, it is a rich scent. It's very rich and it's very long lasting. So just being considerate with the amount of sprays you use, maybe just like one at the neck and one behind the knees. You could get away with it even at work. To me, it's probably one of the best all-around scents that I have in my collection. It's definitely one that I would reach for any like exclusive event or fancy type event. Not that I do those things, but if I were, this is definitely one of those that I would reach for. This along with Gris Charnel. This one is probably, though, of all the scents in my collection, with the exception of maybe like my Chanel number 5 Eau Première, this is probably like the most elegant fragrance that I own. Ormond Jane has a pretty big fragrance collection. This is the first and only one I've tried from the brand, and I do hope to try more in 2024. I should probably subscribe to Scentbird again, because that's where I smelled this for the first time. I don't even know if they have any, but yeah, so that's Ormond Jane Amber Royal. Would I buy a new bottle of this if I used up the partial? Probably no. The reason being, it's not so unique that there isn't something else that I might want to try that would fill this niche in my collection. But it's a scent that I would like to keep in my collection for as long as possible. So I am pretty particular with when I use it. Next, I have Chanel's Peri Peri. This is the Leos collection. I think that's the name. I have 3 now from this collection, and I believe there are 6 in total. And I kind of, like, the collector in me kind of wants to get all of them just to say that I have them. But of the 3 that I have, Peri Peri is my favorite. So this again was a partial bottle that I actually did a trade for it. I can't remember what I traded. Obviously something, you know, valuable enough for this. I try to trade like equal value, unless the other person is adamant that they want a specific item, or if I'm adamant that I want a specific item and I don't mind giving something of a greater value for it. This is a rose fragrance. I have a few rose fragrances that I love. I have Erin Rose de Grasse Porphyre. That's a real sweet rose fragrance, very youthful. I have I think 1 or 2 others. Rose is not my favorite scent, but this is like just such a fresh and musky rose. It's like Paris is a fresh rose and Paris is a musky rose. There's something watery about it. There's a watery quality about the fragrance that makes it easy to wear. It is also an eau de toilette, so that doesn't, you know, it doesn't hurt, but it makes it easy to wear. But there's also a musky dry down, like it's kind of skin musk dry down. And between the wateriness and the muskiness, the rose scent is very tame. So it's not a headache inducing rose, which is my biggest problem with rose and rose family fragrances. This is so easy to wear that it's like nobody's gonna be offended by it. That's not true. Anyone who doesn't like rose, just flat out hates rose, probably will hate this as well. And anyone who's expecting a more of a like vintage rose or tea rose vibe, I don't think you'll like this either. This is definitely a musky rose, but a very watered down musky rose. The longevity of this is poor. It's not great. Even of the 3 that I have in this collection, Chanel's Leos, even of the 3 I have in this collection, this is the worst performing of them. But I don't really mind because I don't want to wear it for longevity. This is something I would spray on a really hot day to feel like refreshed and to feel like I smelled nice, but without being drenched in heavy fragrance. Like, this is gonna evaporate and fade within 30 minutes off your skin, and that's totally fine because I wouldn't want it to last longer. That might be too much. So I'm so pleased with this item in the trade. I think this was my favorite trade that I did all year. I've mentioned that I had to repair the sticker. No big deal. I don't give a I don't give, you know, I don't care. But yeah, Peri Peri from Chanel's Leo collection. Not for everyone, definitely, but you want a unique rose, I would at least try to get your nose on it. Absolutely. Would I buy it again? I wouldn't need to. This bottle is 125 ml and I'll never use it up. So, and then the last one, this last one is one that I was also influenced to purchase after I saw an advert with a gentleman talking about wearing this, and I thought to myself, like, I want to smell like him. Like, I literally looked at this guy and I was like, I want to smell like that dude. And so I bought it. Full size, full bottle. I did get it from a discount site, so I didn't pay full price, thank goodness. But this is Olfactive Studios Auto Portrait. Oh my God. Auto Portrait. So the descriptive terms that were used that really hooked me were woody, sensual, just smelling very androgynous. And I think Auto Portrait is all of those things. First of all, it is a woody fragrance. There's no doubt about that. If you don't like a woody fragrance, it's not going to be for you. Like, look at the juice. Oh my God. I'm in love with this scent. It was full when I bought it. I've already put this much of a dent in it. It's definitely woody. Although I would see why a man would consider it androgynous or consider it like not leaning masculine or feminine. I think as a female that it is slightly masculine, but not uncomfortably so. If you are accustomed to wearing more masculine scents, or if you don't mind wearing masculine leaning fragrances, this one is really so close to being gender neutral that I probably would not even call it masculine. But it's got those woods. I know it has, I think, like some ozonic notes. There's a sort of freshness. It's a fresh wood. That's really what it is. And it's like, when I think to myself, like, how can woods be fresh? I think about like the forest after a rain and how there's a smell of like damp earth, but there's also a smell of damp wood. And that kind of like petrichor dampness of the wood is infused in here a little bit. When you think about damp wood, you think of mold, right? But that's how I'm getting at. And I hope that's not what comes across. It's just like a fresh, woody scent. This to me is definitely a daytime fragrance. This is a casual wearing fragrance, or if you prefer to wear more masculine leaning scents, you could definitely wear this to like some sort of event, like a dinner, or I wouldn't say like a super formal event, but something where you wanted to feel put together. It smells amazing on basically everyone, I think, in my opinion. But I, again, prefer woody fragrances, and I really like woody fragrances. If the Chanel was my favorite trade, Auto Portrait was probably my favorite blind buy of the year. It's unique, and it's a little bit invigorating. Like, it feels like, you know, that freshness just gives you like a kick that you need to get going. I don't know. I'm kind of just saying words now because in my mind, all of these images are going through, but I'm not really able to convey them properly into words. I do enjoy the olfactive studio fragrances. They're super beautiful. This is the box that it came in, and it comes with a portrait. This is basically an image of the idea of the scent, and the photographer is called Luc Laporte, and that's what it looks like. It's literally, it's frame worthy, you know, it's really, really nice. And then the box has it on the outside as well. So that is Olfactive's Auto Portrait. Anyway, that's the choices I have for the choices that I have for the favorite fragrances I added to my collection in 2023. Please tell me in the comments below, what fragrances did you add to your collection in 2023, whether that was new or old or new to you, that were your favorites. I'd love to hear. Also, I'm going to be doing a beauty and wellness favorites, and I think one other video, I can't remember, but I did have something I had something planned. I hope you'll stay tuned for those. There's still Vlogmas vlogs happening. They are pretty boring, I know, but at least it's something. Maybe you'll enjoy, maybe you won't. If not, I'll see you on the next video. Bye. You're dancing, I love the way you move, it gives me